There are plenty of ways to ascertain the nature of a video game before you drop your hard-earned dollars on it, but even then you can still be duped by a bait and switch. That said, not every bait and switch is a bad thing, as plenty of the games on this list can attest. Now, this is a list about revealing a bit of the hidden mechanics, meanings, and switcheroos in these video games, so there will have to be a tiny bit of spoiling of them. That said, I will avoid any massive spoilers. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video games that aren't what you think. Number 10, Soda Drinker Pro. 2016's Soda Drinker Pro is about drinking soda in various environments. That's not a joke, it's literally what the game is about, but it doesn't stop there. You see, buried inside this hyper-real soda-consuming simulation that, according to its Steam profile, touts a reputation for being, quote, the world's most advanced soda-drinking simulator, is a 12-hour surrealist video game called Vivian Clark. Despite having one of the most bizarre, excellent trailers you've ever seen, you'd be forgiven for not knowing just how deep the well goes, since the game's creator and marketing had no interest in divulging its secret game. In order to access it, you'll need to try and enter the house in the park level, then you'll begin Vivian Clark. Vivian Clark is a game where you'll start as a raindrop and then evolve into the next thing you touch, and it pretty much goes from there. Fans have called it a shockingly fun and surprisingly deep masterpiece made on a shoestring budget. That said, most of the Steam reviews are still about the soda drinking part, so if that's the main draw for you, don't worry, that's still there. Number 9, Pony Island. Daniel Mullins' Pony Island is a simplistic game where you play the delightful adventures of a horse. Except that it's not. It's a terrifying fever dream where you're trapped inside a malevolent arcade machine. You'll begin the game helping a pony jump over hurdles until you arrive at a Mario-esque flag, and then you're showered in level ups until the game prompts you to insert your soul to continue. You then uncover a selection of exe files located underneath the floating game window and start to learn more about the game you're actually playing. Spoiler alert, it's a lot more complicated and sinister than helping a pony jump over pixel obstacles. Basically, you'll be messing with the machine to try and escape, and this is a game where you'll rarely be able to predict where it's going to go next. While there is gate jumping, you'll actually spend most of your time hacking, puzzling, and playing around with the wildly unique gameplay systems to unravel the game's secrets and defeat its evil overlord. Number 8, Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki Literature Club is a game that hides its true form incredibly well. In fact, you won't know anything's amiss at all until you're about 2 hours into what seems to be a pretty run-of-the-mill dating simulator. In essence, Doki Doki Literature Club is a visual novel, and that's true throughout the vast majority of the game. You'll get to make a few choices that will advance the plot in various ways, spend your time hanging out with cute anime girls, and construct poems for the ones you like best. Then things start to get nasty quickly. The game's themes are extremely heavy from here on out, and you'll be confronted by unimaginably brutal consequences to your actions, as well as the true villain behind the game. Things take a very hard left here both narratively and in terms of gameplay mechanics, as you'll be required to do something to progress the game that very few games would ever ask you to do. I won't tell you what it is here, but if you're alright with horrific themes and confronting visual images, this horror story masquerading as a bubblegum visual novel is a must-play. Number 7, Frog Fractions. Frog Fractions is a free web-based game that you can still get for free on Steam, where basically you play as a frog, defending your fruit from bugs. Frog Fractions is a game that has no interest in staying in the wheelhouse of one genre. Though you'll start the game in a Space Invaders style format, you'll soon be asked to type out the words that appear on screen, go to Bug Court on Bug Mars, and engage in an old-school text-based adventure game. You'll also make bug porn. Yeah, this one isn't as dark as Doki Doki Literature Club, but it's arguably a lot more weird. The trailer may insist the game is about eating bugs with your frog tongue, buying upgrades to do so, and buying a cool DLC hat, but that's just the tip of this very bizarre iceberg, and you can find that out for yourself about 10 minutes into the game. Number 6, The Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable launch trailer kicks off with a quote that says, "It's brilliant. Why? Well, telling you would spoil it. You'll just have to trust me." Now, I will spoil it, but in a very vague way here, so don't worry. The clearest message in this 2013 first-person exploration game is that you will be playing as Stanley. Sorta. The Steam description literally reads, "You will play as Stanley, and you will not play as Stanley. You will follow a story, and you will not follow a story. You will have a choice, you will have no choice. The game will end, the game will never end." So, that's helpful. What is easy to glean is that you're an office drone and you're employee number 427. You execute orders sent to you in your little grey office in your big grey office building that is full of unremarkable things. Right up until it isn't. The Stanley Parable is full of hidden secrets, mysteries, social commentary, and a pile of endings you'll need to roll through every possible path to uncover. Quick tip, if you, like me, haven't played this one since 2013, then now is a really good time to get the Go Outside achievement. That's the achievement that you can't get unless you haven't played the game for 5 years, but you have owned it for that 5 years. Could you mess with your PC's clock to do this? Yes, but if you want to do it legitimately, go do it now. Number 5. Gone Home. Google Gone Home and you don't have to scroll far to find forum posts and Google suggested questions asking if it's a horror game. And it's really no wonder as to why. You rock up to an abandoned house with a very suspicious note on the door, nobody's there, the power appears to be out, and it's dark and stormy. We've all seen that horror movie. You'll slowly make your way through the house in first person, turning on lights as you go and trying to unravel exactly what happened before you got there and where everybody is. There's a pile of secrets to uncover and a genuinely engrossing story of character development and relationships to piece together. But in reality, there's nothing going bump in the night. That said, the game keeps you feeling tense all the way through to the end, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, nobody would blame you for being significantly sus on what's inside the locked attic. As for what's really up there, I'm not going to spoil it for you here, but it's probably not what you expect. Number 4. Soma. Given 2016 survival horror game Soma was the brainchild of the creators of Amnesia: The Dark Descent, there was a firm expectation that there'd be scares, which there are, but the story went much further off the rails than Amnesia fans would have expected. In what is one of the most complex stories not only in horror games but games in general, Soma challenges ideas of what it means to be human, the limits or lack thereof of technology, the concept of artificial intelligence, and the definition of consciousness. It's all pretty heavy stuff for a game that you'd expect to be just another fright fest like Amnesia was. Not that Amnesia's story was insignificant, it was just certainly hidden behind the strength of its scares, whereas Soma does the opposite. Soma could easily have gotten away with being an underwater scare factory, but instead, it leaves you with enormous philosophical questions of what makes anybody who they are. The existential dread is arguably worse than Amnesia's water monster. Number 3. Superhut. Superhut is a brilliantly slick first-person shooter from 2016 that has a very unique gameplay mechanic where time only moves when you do. As you can imagine, the game becomes as much of a puzzle as it is a shooter as a result, perhaps even more so. Apart from booting into a slightly weird-looking DOS menu and the repeating "Superhut" message upon beating a level appearing like it's on an old-school arcade screen, nothing seems overly amiss here. But we're far enough into this video for you to have guessed that, of course, something is amiss. Underneath the hood, Superhut is a game with a significant meta-narrative dealing with mind control, identity, and the realization that there's a lot more going on here than just playing a shooter with a sick time control mechanic. The first few levels of this game barely scratch the surface, and the ending is fantastic. Maybe it's no coincidence that the Superhut looping audio is hard to get out of your head. This one deserves to be played, so I don't want to divulge any more spoilery details. Suffice it to say, this one is the most innovative shooter I've played in years. That either made sense to you because you played the game, or it doesn't make sense, and let's keep going. Number 2, Inscription. Cards on the table, pun fully intended because that's excellent. This is the game that made me want to write this list. At first, Inscription appears to be a Slay the Spire-esque card game, but with a creepy cabin in the woods aesthetic. Your opponent is shrouded in darkness, but otherwise the game appears to follow the fairly concrete rules common in most card-based games. This is true of the first 2 or so hours of the game, or 6, depending on how long it takes you to learn how to defeat the Trapper, the final boss of the first act of the game. I won't spoil what unfolds, but you'll encounter elements including full-motion videos, a significant narrative meta-story, an overworld, and in-game characters that evolve to be nothing like what you might have expected. The game is genuinely fascinating. It blends elements of roguelikes, card games, puzzling, and deep exploration, not to mention horror elements and a healthy dose of messing with your hard drive. And why wouldn't it? It's made by the same guy who made Pony Island. Number 1, Glitter Mitten Grove. For this one, we're revisiting the soda drinker pro-genre of games hiding inside other games. Glitter Mitten Grove's Steam description pictures the game as a fairyland, full of strange adventure, inviting players to plant seeds, pick berries, and collect sparkles alongside the fairies. Dig a little deeper below the surface though, and you'll find Frog Fractions 2. That's right, it's back. The difficulty was that Frog Fractions was already a game that subverted expectations, so the creator explained that he needed to find a new approach that didn't just repeat the madness of the first game. The result was a sequel more hidden and far longer, but similarly refreshingly absurd. To find the game hidden within Glitter Mitten Grove, you needed to use special fireworks or find a hidden door located in the sky. It should be said that Glitter Mitten Grove is actually a full game in and of itself, and to access Frog Fractions 2, you will have to play it. Just expect a vastly different experience. The latter involves the weirdest combination of minigames, the strangest gameplay mechanics you can envision, and a resulting game unlike anything else you would have played, including Glitter Mitten Grove. In things you can't help but love about indie games, the developer also made it possible to import your Mass Effect 2 save. Why? I don't know. The game has nothing to do with Mass Effect or EA, but it's a thing you can do and it actually has implications in Frog Fractions 2. So weird, so wonderful, I approve. And that's our list. Do let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other games that are not what you'd expect them to be. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gamey goodness.